Hi. Well, namaste everyone. So I am Aparna Roy, and I'm really happy to organize today this important talk by an expert like Amita Bhuwani. Sometime back, listened to her talk on I think bioenzyme, and it was very interesting. And from that time, I thought I'll introduce her in our groups. So though I'm a psychotherapist and a yoga expert, but I love nature, and every year at least 2 dozens of plants, saplings, of mango, jamun, like this, I prepare myself and then put them. This is all jamun, and then there are mangoes also. And I have a veranda because I'm in first floor. So I spend time, I go to the Shegal Market Park 1 and 2, and I just like to spend time with them. That is the squirrels, birds, etc. And as I told that I mix plants or seeds and I distribute in hotels also, wherever I go and stay. So here I want to introduce Amita Bhuwani ji. Amita Bhuwania is a medical tourism and healthcare specialist by profession. She has keen interest in dance, music, art, and Indian culture. Amita ji introduced 150 families in home composting, though there is another lady here, Uma Talwarji, who is also doing a lot. And she is growing healthy vegetables. And I think she taught also how to grow healthy vegetables. Today, because of high pollution level and due to toxicity, we must grow some of our food at home. So home composting, what she is teaching is very, very important. It reduces the burden on landfills because we have heard about the fire all the time in landfills, and they cause the air, water, and land pollution. And the people who are living nearby, a real health hazard for them. So Amitaji is growing more than 30 varieties of vegetables on her rooftop in pots. And she has her own YouTube channel where she keeps sharing her knowledge. So over to Amitaji.
Namaskar, welcome. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. And I'm glad to be speaking about my experiences. I have loved sharing whatever I know, or just let me know ki, you want me to do it in Hindi or English or mixed. I am comfortable with both.
Yeah, mixed, I think.
Achha, English. English. Okay, so I'll do it in a mix. Jahan bhi kisi ko koi bhi sawal ya if anyone has any questions, we'll take them at the end. I will not talk too much. I would want it to be interactive towards the end. So this session is going to last till 5:40. And in case we exceed 5:40 and we get disconnected, we can reconnect on the same ID. A little about my journey, how I got into growing vegetables on rooftops. मेरे को gardening का बहुत शौक था. I belong to Chandigarh, the city of gardens and called the city beautiful. I was born, brought up there, and spent all my childhood, adolescence in Chandigarh. So we had lawns and we were growing some bit. Every house had a couple of trees. They had a small kitchen garden patch. The front lawn used to have flowers, ornamental plants, and the backyard used to have all these vegetables. So we were growing homegrown vegetables, and we were also doing composting. Just dig up a pit, put in all the kitchen waste, close the pit, and then just plant over it. Then dig another pit. And that was the simplest way of home composting. And that I have seen right from childhood. Now, here in the urban scenario, when I shifted to Delhi, which was almost 30 years ago, not in fact almost, but it has been 30 years since I've been here in Delhi and in GK2, a resident of S Block. So I realized we are fortunate that we have a terrace. So I started growing ornamental plants little by little, greening up the space. I used to really miss the greenery that we have in Chandigarh. So I tried to green up the terrace. Then a few years back, I thought there was so much talk about pesticide-laden vegetables, chemical fertilizers being used. So मैंने सोचा कुछ तो खाएं जो pesticide free हो. Let's eat something which is healthy. So I decided I want to grow vegetables. I joined the Kitchen Garden Association, but that was not too much of help because their lectures and everything was focused elsewhere. I tried speaking to people, I tried speaking to my Mali, and they all discouraged me. कि गमलों में सब्जी नहीं होती. No vegetables grows in pots. And that determined me even further. So what I did was I had the uppermost terrace, which did not have very easy access. मैंने वहां पे एक लोहे का जीना लगवा दिया ताकि ऊपर जाना आना आसान हो. And then when we had done the renovation about 15 years back, we had bathtubs. I thought it's a huge waste because it wastes so much of water and nobody's going to use them. So I had them on the topmost floor, moved there. Now how to get started? I was at a loss and I started in the wrong season. I started just before summer. बड़े enthusiasm से I thought घिया तोरी सब लगाऊंगी भिंडी लगाऊंगी and it was a disaster, a total failure. One, because I had all my experience growing vegetables in the ground and this was pots. So it's a totally different ball game. Because ground में moisture रहता है, आप पानी दें चाहे ना दें, थोड़ा बहुत moisture हमेशा वो जमीन से roots खींच लेती हैं. The roots always attract the moisture और वो moist रहती है. But pots में limited मिट्टी है, limited nourishment है. So I had to unlearn to learn. And a series of failures in summers. I recently succeeded in summers, just about a couple of years back. I kept at it. I've been growing for over 8 years. So I had a failure of almost 5 to 6 years in summers. But winter was fantastic. Winter, right from the first season, I was quite successful. I started with leafy vegetables. Leafy vegetables are the easiest to grow. I will come to the type of vegetables that we can grow. So that's how a little brief about my journey. And now it's been 8 years. I got in touch with a couple of friends on Facebook. I made friends with them rather. They were unknown people to me and they helped me out. And believe me, when I started 8 years ago, more than 8 years ago, there were no seeds available. There were no saplings available. And the shopkeepers, nursery owners would laugh at me. कि आप सब्जी उगाने की सोचे, सब्जी तो खेतों में उगती है या बगीचे में उगती है. And I was at a loss कि ये लोग समझते क्यों नहीं है. So it was quite hilarious. Then there is this friend whom I made on Facebook in Bangalore and asked her, Anu, can you send me a few seeds? Then she sent me a few seeds. Then she directed me to a gentleman in Pune. He sent me a few seeds. And that's how my journey started. Then I learned what are the various types of seeds. Hybrid seeds क्या होते हैं, heirloom seeds क्या होते हैं. And every day is a learning experience. So that's how I started. Then soil I made on my own. And little by little, I gathered more soil. So I'll just start with the basics. Now, to set up a garden, what do you need? We just need 5 essential things. What are those 5 essential things? 5 चीजें वो क्या हैं? पहला है sunlight, यानी धूप. दूसरा है space या location. तीसरा है पानी या water. चौथा है container. In what kind of pot or what kind of container are you going to grow your vegetables? And the 5th and the not most important, but equally important is soil or potting mix. So just to start on it, sunlight is primary for growing vegetables. Sunlight बहुत जरूरी है. Now the sunlight will vary from summer to winter and from vegetable to vegetable. Winter time, if you can grow them in full sunlight, that is the best. In summertime, 2 to 3 hours of good sunlight is adequate. You can have the morning sun, you can have the evening sun. The summer harsh sun, the afternoon sun is not really advisable. That time you can use a shade net. So sunlight 2 to 3 hours is very important. Now space or location. हम लोग सब दिल्ली में रहते हैं. Most of us are in flats. So we already have a paucity of space. But once you start looking around, you will find there is ample space to grow, like I found. So I'm on the 1st floor and I have a 2nd floor. So I do have a terrace, but then once you start looking around, तो सारी जगह कम पड़ जाती है. So now I have plants almost everywhere. मेरी balcony में तो है ही, छत पे भी है. I also have plants in my staircase. I have plants on my shoe rack, on my dining table, on my side tables, in every nook and corner. Once you start growing, you start viewing every space as a potential location to place your plants. Now, they may be ornamental plants, they may be useful plants. So I have recently, not recently, almost a decade ago, I started the shift to useful plants, which green up your space and give you some utility. So space कहीं पे भी आपके पास हो, आप उसको उस नजरिए से देखिए. गैलरी में भी स्पेस है, आप वहां पे भी प्लांट्स रख सकते हैं. Any place, you have a corner, you have a wall, you can even wall mount them, and you choose your plants accordingly. So no space is less for growing plants. The third is water. We have to understand हम पौधों पे अपना प्यार न्यौछावर करते हैं पानी के रूप में. So we shower our plants with love in the form of water. And we kill most plants by overwatering. A plant rarely or seldom dies due to underwatering. It will mostly die due to overwatering because container gardening is very specific. You can't overwater it and you can't underwater it because it just has that limited space and that limited soil. So one has to be very careful. So watering requirement you have to understand of each plant. The best way to understand is when the topsoil is dry, just add some water. So watering has to be regular, frequent, and not too much. That's the simple thumb rule. Now we come to the containers. When I started my journey, I didn't want to spend too much money. मुझे डर था, थोड़ी इनसिक्योरिटी थी कि मैं बहुत खर्चा करूंगी तो घर वाले क्या बोलेंगे कि इतना खर्चा हो गया और क्या रिजल्ट आया या क्या किया. इसकी तो कोई there is no return, so to say. And plus, being a conscious, environment conscious citizen, responsible citizen, I decided to put everything that was considered waste to use. So like I told you about 15 years ago, we had the renovation done in stages. I had lots of paint buckets, Fevicol boxes, paint boxes, and all those dabbas lying with me, which I had not really thrown away. So I had holes drilled in them and I used them as my containers. Our family eats a lot of amla murabba, so they would always come in plastic containers. And every week we would have one container being emptied out. And it would break my heart to throw them away. So I would just keep piling them. And many times my family members would say, what are you going to do with them? I said, I don't know, but I don't want to throw them away. Then one day it just struck to me, why don't I get holes drilled? Though I'm not really in favor of plastic pots, but I thought that's the simplest way. Now plastic pots also has its advantages. Lightweight होते हैं तो आप handle कर सकते हैं. अगर मिट्टी के ही आप use करेंगे या terracotta or ceramic, then you need somebody to lift them around. And I believe if you have a passion or a hobby, one should be independent. One should not be dependent on anyone. So I just filled up those pots, made those holes. Now, when you're filling up the pots, it's very important to see how you fill them up. The holes that are there at the bottom are drainage holes. So you need to cover them appropriately that the excess water gets drained out, but the soil doesn't get drained out. So just cover them with a thin layer of broken pot pieces or pebbles or clay balls, anything. So that is about containers. You can have the smallest container and you can have the biggest size of container. You have to understand ki root size kya hai plant ka and choose the container accordingly. Most vegetables have shallow roots. So you don't need too much of depth. Unless you're planting root vegetables, say like the long mooli, safed mooli, ya fir gajar. Other than that, most vegetables don't require too much depth. The leafy vegetables just require about 8 inches of depth. 6 inches also does for it because they are fibrous roots, thin roots. Tomatoes require little more depth, so they require about 1 feet. The summer vines like the tori, ghiya, they need slightly bigger containers because they need to spread out. Pumpkins. You can even grow baby corn. I've grown a lot of baby corn in pots on my terrace and it tastes delicious and very fresh. So that requires again 10, 12 inches of depth. You can even grow fruit trees. 14 inches pots, plastic pots, good enough, sufficient enough. You need to keep manuring them. So the type of container will depend on what you are growing. The simplest to grow, as I mentioned earlier, are leafy vegetables. Patte ki sabzi sabse aasani se ug jati hai. So start with those. वो गर्मी में भी उग जाती है, सर्दी में भी उग जाती है. पालक, मेथी. मेथी is primarily winter. धनिया समर विंटर दोनों उगता है. Takes a little time to grow. Chalai or amaranth, it is very nutritious. Summer we have the Malabar spinach. It's like a poi kalmi, more popular in Bengal. I think Aparna ji would be identifying with it more. It's very nutritious, very healthy. Kari patta we all have. It's a perennial. Now the second is the type of plants that you want to grow. So we have the annuals or the perennials. Annuals वो हुए जो आपको हर साल लगाने पड़ते हैं. तो सब्जियां, फूल mostly annuals होते हैं. Perennials वो होते हैं जो आपको last कर जाते हैं. Those whom you don't have to plant every year, year after year. Like I have this Sansevieria or mother-in-law's tongue and the money plant. These are perennials. वैसे some vegetables are perennials like bengan. You don't need to plant it every year. One plant can last up to 3 to 4 years and give you enough fruit. Second is ornamental or useful. So you have to decide, you can have a mix of both, whether you want ornamental plants purely for beauty or you want useful plants. I would suggest a mix. So lemongrass, curry patta, chives, stevia, ashwagandha, a few herbs, oregano, thyme, marjoram, pudina, peppermint. All these can be grown almost all the year round, and you can grow them 1 to 2 pots are good enough. और वो छोटे pots में भी उग जाते हैं, जो आप कोने में, wherever in your balcony, windowsill, kitchen windowsill if you have space, or your staircase, you can just take it out for a week or so, keep it in the semi-shade, move it back to its place. That, of course, you have to keep experimenting, do that. Then we have the flowers. You should always intersperse your garden with flowers because, especially summers, they add beauty and they aid in pollination. They attract all the bees and the butterflies. So flowers are very important and it gives a very pleasing look to the entire garden. Then you can have some vines and creepers and vegetables we've already spoken. So these are various types of plants that you can grow. Now it must be very clear that when you are growing, what are you growing it for? Sabzi agar aap uga rahe hain, so is your family going to consume that vegetable? That is important because if your family does not eat a particular vegetable, there is no fun in growing it. And whatever you grow at home, you must consume almost every bit of it. There are certain families or certain types of plants where you cannot consume everything. For example, capsicum, chilies, tomatoes, brinjals, इन सब के आप पत्ते और डंडियां नहीं खा सकते हैं. बट मोस्ट प्लांट्स जो आप उगा रहे हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल विंटर वेजिटेबल्स में शलगम है, बीटरूट है, टर्निप, बीटरूट, कैरेट, radish, you can eat everything. You are eating the fruit, it is the root actually. You can also use the leaves. The leaves are very tasty. Use them as stir fries, chop them finely, add them to your roti dough, or you can make parathas out of it, stuffed. You can make pakoras out of it. You can add them as anything. You can add them finely chopped as salads also. Because whatever you are growing in home is, if it is organically grown, of course, then it makes sense. Why should you waste it? So you should be able to grow everything. Now, an important part is how do we grow them? So we grow them from seeds. Start from your kitchen. The best seeds that you can get is starting from home. How can you get them? Hum sabke kitchen mein we have methi dana. You can grow methi from it. So start in winters. Just after the rains, September, October, you can start sowing. Palak, you will have to buy the seeds because normally we don't save the seeds. We have the moti sarso, not the maheen rye, not the small mustard, but the big mustard. That will give you your sarso ka saag. So you can grow that. You have the sauf or the fennel seeds. सौंफ से आप सौंफ उगा सकते हैं. आपको सीड्स नहीं भी मिले तो आप उसकी पत्ते काम में लीजिए. They are highly fragrant and very tasty. So you can grow it from that. Kalonji dana hai. Kalonji dana is basically onion seed. So you can use it to sow onions. And you'll be surprised to know that you can grow almost anything in pots. Like Aparna ji said, I have been growing 30 varieties. मेरे पास और जगह नहीं है तो शायद मैं और भी उगा लेती. So I have grown broccoli, I have grown cauliflower, cabbage, I have grown baby corn, potatoes, onions, garlic, cherry tomatoes, and you name it. I mean, you can ask me. I have run out of names because I don't even remember. And I have a few fruit trees also growing. Now they may not give the fruit at times, but they will give you the leaves. जैसे moringa है, तो moringa के flowers, सहजन की फली जो बोलते हैं, drumsticks. Drumsticks are very tasty, very nutritious. You use the leaves. Leaves, dry those leaves, keep them, add them to your dals and soups and stews, or just stir fry, or just dry them and keep and add the powder. They are very good for health. So you may not get the सहजन की फली, though you do get, you can also use the leaves. So whatever you are growing at home, अजवाइन के पत्ते बहुत कॉमन है. लोग many people ask me that अजवाइन का क्या, पकौड़े के अलावा तो कुछ बना नहीं सकते, and you can't have pakoras all the time. Just chop them, add them to a little vegetables, and make them stuffing for your roti or paratha. You can also make chutney out of it, like your pudina dhania ki chutney. So when I make my pudina dhania chutney, I add a mix of leaves from my garden. I have a patthar chat, I have kadi patta, I have ajwain ka patta, I have moli ka patta. I add all of them and make the chutney, even giloy leaves. So it gives you good nutrition, a change of taste, and good health too. So whatever you are growing, and read up. Now the internet is so popular, all information is available. There are so many forums and so many people to help out. So the sky is the limit, and it's not too difficult to start. It's very easy, but yes, one needs to take the plunge and one needs to be hands-on. Don't expect Malis to grow it for you, because Malis generally have this perception कि सब्जियां नहीं उगती, and they don't want to do it because they don't feel that reward. And believe me, it's easier than growing other plants. And even if you quote failure, अगर शुरू में success नहीं भी मिलता है, please keep at it. If I have been determined and I have done it, everybody can do it. I have even grown arbi in pots. I have grown shakarkandi in pots. So there is parsley, celery, guarfali, almost everything that I can think of. So that's it from my side. And if now anybody would like to ask, please unmute yourself. I can ask everyone to unmute themselves, and then
आप अमिता जी पॉटिंग का बता दीजिए पहले, then let them ask.
हाँ,
ratio.
I use a very simple potting mix. This is equal parts. Now equal parts में क्या डालती हूँ मैं? Garden soil. उस garden soil में शुरू में जब मैंने बनाया था, so एक मोटी बास्केट लेके मैंने छाना था. क्यों छाना था? Because उसमें बहुत कंकर पत्थर थे. Because आपको खरीदने की जरूरत नहीं है, आजकल वैसे रेडी मिक्स भी अवेलेबल मिलता है, but then it's expensive. So there's one part of garden soil, one part of coco peat. Now coco peat is available as a powder. It is available as a brick, 1 kg brick, 5 kg brick. Just break it or just soak it in water, and it will swell to 5 times the volume. Just dry it out a bit. Coco peat does not give any nutrition, but it adds lightness to the soil. It reduces the pH of the soil, and it increases the water retention of the soil, and it makes the soil porous. So,
गोबर का खाद.
And the third part is compost. So आप homemade compost डाल सकते हैं, leaf mold डाल सकते हैं, या गोबर की खाद डाल सकते हैं. लेकिन गोबर की खाद you have to be very sure that it is fully mature, because गोबर की खाद में बहुत heat होती है. तो अगर वो mature नहीं है, तो आपके plants को adversely affect कर सकते हैं. So this is the simplest potting mix. And how to fill your pots, I have a video on my YouTube channel. It's by my name, Amita Bhuvania. But it's a very simple thing. Like I said in the beginning, the lowermost layer is going to be a layer of pebbles or broken pot pieces or clay balls. On top of it, if you can collect the dry leaves, एक dry leaves की layer डाल दीजिए. By the time they decompose, they will release nutrition into the pot. उससे क्या होता है? Pot थोड़ा हल्का भी हो जाता है. आपकी dry leaves भी use हो जाती है. Garden waste है तो garden waste भी डाल सकते हैं. उसके ऊपर अगर आप kitchen waste की layer डालना चाहे वो भी डाल सकते हैं, और उसके ऊपर खाली आप ये potting mix डाल दीजिए. The simplest potting mix possible.
जी.
So equal parts of garden soil, coco peat and compost.
अमिता जी एक क्वेश्चन है कि व्हाट्स अबाउट रेत, सैंड? सैंड भी बोलते हैं, पूरा मिक्स करो.
सैंड बेसिकली हम तब डालते हैं जहां सॉइल बहुत हार्ड होता है और द सॉइल इज वेरी क्ले. सो इफ यू फील, बिकॉज एक जो सबसे बड़ा फर्क होता है गार्डन पॉटेड मिक्स जो होता है, द सॉइल इन द पॉट टेंड्स टू हैव a tendency for compaction because it has no earthworms. Earthworms are very good for our soil. अभी बारिश में जब केंचुए निकलेंगे प्लीज उनको फेंकिए मत, उठा के उनको अपने पॉट्स में डाल दीजिए. They are wonderful for the soil. So because it has a tendency for compaction, we add a little sand. वो उतना compact नहीं लगे, थोड़ा loose रहे.
Are you crazy? इतना
बहुत tight ना रहे.
बहुत मारूंगी मैं आपको.
So
okay.
No worries. So that's about the potting mix. Something very simple. If anybody has any queries, you can raise a hand.
Anita and Manjula. Yeah. Anita and Manjula, I had one query which was like, you know, I don't get to know when to plant which particular, you know, plant. Like you said, so many things, celery is there, parsley is there. Now, I don't know which plant to plant at what time and where to get the seeds from.
So seeds, you should try, when you start out first in your gardening journey, I would recommend hybrid seeds. अब hybrid seeds और heirloom seeds में क्या फर्क है? Hybrid seeds जब भी बाद में seed form होगा, तो आप उस seed को sow करेंगे तो it will not give you the same plant or the same fruit because that has been created in the lab. Hybrid है वो. और जो heirloom है वो जैसा आपने पहले टमाटर खाया, सपोज आपने टमाटर का बीज बचाया है, तो आपको वैसा ही टमाटर दोबारा मिल जाएगा. That is the basic difference between a hybrid and a heirloom seed. Now, where to get the seeds from? These days, all gardening shops, अच्छनी में बहुत सारी gardening shops है, जमरूदपुर में है, भोगल में है, they are all keeping seeds. So, don't buy very large packets because बहुत कम seeds चाहिए होते हैं. You can share seeds or you can ask around for friends, gardening groups, and most avid gardeners would be more than happy to share seeds or saplings. Now, how to grow what time? Most of the herbs grow in winter, जैसे parsley, celery, ये सारी winter के हैं, oregano. कुछ अगर आप manage कर लेते, because Delhi heat is very strong, sometimes they don't survive, sometimes they survive. कड़ी पत्ता is a perennial. That is वो 12 महीने उगता है, उसका पेड़ की तरह पौधा होता है, तो उसके लिए आपको वो करने की जरूरत है. पुदीना गर्मी का है, पेपरमिंट भी गर्मी में भी हो जाता है, समरी है. So you have to see what do you like to eat in summer and what do you like to eat in winter. That will give you your answers. गर्मी में हमें हल्की सब्जी खाने का मन करता है, जैसे घिया, तोरी, टिंडा, भिंडी, ग्वारफली. तो ये सब गर्मियों की सब्जियां हैं. तो this will start, you have to start before the onset of summer. So you have to start sowing somewhere February and March beginning. You can re-sow it in the monsoons. Winter, similarly, you have to start sowing right at the end of monsoon.
Which means August, September?
Yes, August, September. That is the early variety. And the late variety will happen later. You can keep sowing them. तो जैसे गोभी है, गाजर है, मटर भी उग जाती है. मैंने मटर भी उगाई है टब में. वो सब विंटर में उगती है. टमाटर समर में भी होता है, विंटर में भी होता है, बट समर में यू हैव टू प्लांट अर्ली. एंड समर का 3 months. अच्छा, एक चीज और ध्यान रखिएगा कि वट एवर यू आर प्लांटिंग, इट विल ऑलवेज टेक 60 to 90 days to give you fruit. Leafy vegetables are ready in 30 to 45 days. So patience is the key. So you have to be very patient. So जब आप सीजन्स देखेंगे, पहले हम खाली सीजन्स के हिसाब से खाते थे, अब 12 महीने सारी सब्जियां मिलती है, इसलिए हम सीजन्स भूल गए. So we must remember our seasons and that will give you your answers what to grow.
You talked about fennel. किचन से जो सीड मिलता है उसको बनाइए. That is a very good thing you told. So have we to soak मेथी, सरसों, जो काला सरसों, उसको सोक करें थोड़ा?
मेथी अगर सोक कर देंगे तो बस जर्मिनेशन फास्टर होगा. और सोक करने का एक और एडवांटेज है कि यू कैन ड्रिंक दैट वाटर. सो बट सारे सोक करने की जरूरत नहीं है. सरसों आपको सोक करने की जरूरत नहीं है.
फेनेल
सोक कर सकते हैं, नहीं करना चाहें तो कोई बात.
उसको लगा दे. दैट विल ग्रो इन दिस सीजन
a little later now. हाँ, बरसात में हो जाएगा.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So anybody else, please? Somebody sent a query. How can I grow curry leaf bushy in a pot? So you have to prune it at the right time. January end is the best time for pruning कड़ी पत्ता. उसकी आप pruning कर दीजिए और उसके बाद में watering थोड़ी सी restrict कर दीजिए. तो जैसे ही spring आएगी, जब हमारा flowering season शुरू होता है, it will throw up new shoots, which is towards February, middle February end, and it will grow bushy. You have to prevent it from flowering. If it goes to flowering, तो उसमें छोटी छोटी वो निमोड़ी आ जाती है, तो वो पौधे को हल्का कर देती है. तो अगर बुशी आपको करना है और उसमें थोड़ी रेगुलर टाइम पे मेन्योर डालते रहिए. ऑल पेरिनियल्स नीड टू बी मेन्योर्ड एटलीस्ट वंस अ मंथ. सिर्फ थोड़ी सी आप उसमें पॉट साइज के हिसाब से जस्ट ऐड अ लिटिल कंपोस्ट टू इट. और एंड वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, प्लीज सेव वाटर फ्रॉम योर किचन. जो आप दाल चावल छोला जो भी भिगोते हैं या धोते हैं, या सब्जियों का पानी है, या खट्टा दही है, या छेने का पानी है, whatever water you are generating from your kitchen, please don't throw it away. It is highly nutritious for the plants. Even the rice way, chawal ka mand, that is very good. So please use that. Don't throw that away. That is
water also.
Manure.
It will save water also.
Yes, we need to save water. So we have just about 1.5 minutes left. If anybody would like to ask anything. If anybody wants, we can just type in the chat box, or shall I unmute everyone? So I've asked everyone to unmute themselves.
Any
Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you're please most welcome. You can take my number from Aparna ji. I will be more than happy to help and guide and share my experiences.
Okay, lovely. Because I'm very keen to do it, but somehow not my first step have always been very wavering. Not much result comes out. So yes. I keep wondering how to start off to take the first step forward.
Don't be disappointed. It teaches you a lot of patience and tolerance. If I have waited for 5-6 years to get success in summers, I think it's worth the wait.
Yeah, yeah.
Go through my channel.
I've been a burn up and a die up, you know.
I have put up videos of my summer rooftop, which is quite amazing to see, and I was quite amazed when I got success the first time. It's been very green. So do see that, and I'm open to questions,